Hello, everyone. My name is Mrs. Anthony, and today we are going to be learning all about physical and chemical changes. So, the standard that we will be focusing on today will be standard P.5.5.C, which states that students will demonstrate an understanding of the differences between physical changes and chemical changes. So, that's our goal for today. We simply want to be able to tell the difference between the two types of changes. And the essential question that we want to keep in our minds as we learn is where can we see physical and chemical changes in our everyday lives? So we want to be able to say, I noticed a change in matter. It's physical or it's chemical. So, what are physical and chemical changes? Well, a physical change is a change that happens to a property of a substance's matter. Physical changes are reversible. So, what that definition means is that physical changes they don't change the makeup of a substance. So if I have a sheet of paper and I accidentally rip it, okay, and I say, "Oh no, my paper is ripped in half." What will I do? Well, think about it. I didn't change the makeup of that paper. I didn't form it into a new substance. It's still paper, and I can simply tape it back together. It may not be perfect, but that's only a physical change that has occurred, okay? It is reversible, and they do not change the makeup of a substance. But chemical changes, on the other hand, are changes that do happen to the chemical makeup of a substance. So chemical changes are not reversible. So think about that same sheet of paper. If I lit that paper on fire with a match, then it would turn to ashes. So it's no longer paper. I can't take those ashes and put my paper back together. Okay, so a chemical change has occurred. So let's think about another more fun example. So you see me here, I'm at the campfire, I'm making s'mores, and I want to think where are some chemical and physical changes? What are some that I can see? Well, as I make those s'mores, I have to break my graham cracker in half. That's how I make s'mores, at least. So when I broke that graham cracker, a change happened. But was it physical or was it chemical? Well, I'll ask myself, did the makeup of the graham cracker change? So, did any of the ingredients of that graham cracker change when I broke it in half? No, nothing changed within the makeup of the graham cracker. I can ask myself, well, did a new substance form when I broke that graham cracker in half? No, a new substance didn't form. So that's a physical change. So when you break something in half, that's a physical change. Okay, when you squish the marshmallows together, you may change the size of those marshmallows, but you didn't change what they're made of or anything like that. So again, that's a physical change. But let's think about when I am roasting my marshmallows. I have them here by the fire. They're getting toasty. They're turning brown. Sometimes they even turn black if I'm forgetful. So a change is occurring, but is it physical or is it chemical? Well, when your marshmallow burns, it changes color. Like I said, it turns brown, maybe even black if you like it that way. And so things are changing. And if I burn that marshmallow long enough, a little too long, it will no longer be a marshmallow. So that means a chemical change must have occurred. Okay, so whenever you burn something, it's not going to be that same substance anymore if you burn it long enough. So that is a chemical change. So you see, physical and chemical changes are everywhere. So let's look at some signs or some hints that we can help us to see if a change is physical or chemical. So we're going to look at some signs of physical changes first. So if you see a change in shape, think about that marshmallow that I talked. Or also think about my example of a sand castle. So let's say we go to the beach and we want to build a beautiful sand castle. Well, we'll change the shape of that sand and we'll do all kinds of cool things. but it'll still be sand. Even though we changed its shape, it's still made of the same thing. It's still sand. So a physical change has occurred. Another sign of a physical change, a change in size. Okay, so if I want to make myself a nice sandwich and I'm slicing my bread, well, did the ingredients of the bread change? No. Okay, did the bread turn into something new? No. So again, that's a physical change. Even though I cut it in half and I changed its size, that is still a physical change, okay? And lastly, a change in physical state. So we know that there are 3 states of matter, 4 if you're counting plasma, but for the most part, we focus on solids, liquids, and gases. And when those things change, it is still physical. So let's say I take my water here and I go and I put it in the freezer and I freeze the water. Well, did it turn into a new liquid? No. Is it still made of the same components? Yeah, nothing changed. It's still water. It's just frozen. Okay, so that change in physical state, that's still a physical change. And if I let my ice melt and it goes from a solid to a liquid, again, it was water when it was a solid and it's water now that it's a liquid. So that is a physical change. Okay, let's look at signs of chemical changes. So one of my favorite things, fireworks. One sign of a chemical change is a change in color, heat, light, or sound. So think about the 4th of July. You are popping those wonderful fireworks. You see all the beautiful colors. You hear all the popping sounds. But changes are happening because we don't see all those beautiful lights and things like that when we first buy those fireworks, but they don't happen until we light it on fire, until we start to burn it, okay? So that is an example of a chemical change, okay? When we see a change in color, heat, light, or sound, a chemical change has occurred. That substance has changed from what it originally was. Think about, or another sign of a chemical change is an odor change. So think about a fruit that you accidentally left in your backpack. I did that before. And eventually you say, something smells a little funny. That's because that fruit is going through a chemical change. The molecules and atoms inside of that fruit, they're changing, okay? And so you may notice a different smell. That's a sign of a chemical change. Lastly, the formation of gas. So think about being in science class and doing a cool experiment and mixing things, making up different chemicals, and gas starts to form. That's a sign of a chemical change. You have altered the molecules of a substance, okay?